Hello and welcome to the Irish Guys podcast. Every single time.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Christopher.
Hello, Aidan.
All right, Dave. It looked like, once you said that he was like trying to look away and hold his laugh, but I just don't know because he's in weird form at the minute.
Yeah, you're on strange form, Dev. Well, we were recording last night, fellas. We're back in again tonight. It's us three usual suspects for the football talk. We're trying to get loaded up and get ready to rock and roll in the next week or so.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been good so far. We're getting back into the swing of things. We just recorded a football podcast last night. A few more to do, and then that's us back to where we were at.
That'll be right enough, yeah.
Yeah, so this one will maybe be out a wee bit further down the line. I don't know. We'll probably have to put maybe the COVID stuff, the general football talk, out first, probably.
Yeah.
So this one will probably be out after it, so everything I've just said makes no sense. But yeah, this was one of our mine personally anyway, one of my favourite topics to research. We done one pre-lockdown. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes.
So we decided we'd go back to it again. We'll go back to it every now and then. But we've got plenty of football topics that we're going to do in between times and stuff, but we'll hit back at this every now and again. It's another episode of our Retro Footballers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus, you're talkative, lads.
Earn your keep,
Keep
Dave.
the audio going, Dave.
Earn your keep, Dave.
I earned my keep.
I was just waiting to you bit through the intro. You're usually a man who likes to introduce everything and do your thing before we jump in. It's how it's always went, Dave.
Fair enough. Well, everybody knows this is a podcast that, well, if you have listened to it, our previous podcast, I covered Gabriel Batistuta. We decided to talk about players that maybe because of the age of like Cristiano and Messi and how dominant they've been for such a long time, some players that maybe will be forgotten about.
Yeah.
As we said in the last podcast, anybody that's born in the year 2000 is 20 this year, so there's players that they've maybe never seen live. They have as we even said, that they would have a limited.
Everyone's going to think my player's a pundit.
They'll have a limited recollection of even the start of like Cristiano's United career and stuff. So as we said, the last one was full of nostalgia. We've got an awful amount of likes on Instagram. The last one was full of nostalgia and maybe like a wee bit of a history lesson for anybody that's younger that doesn't know certain players. So the concept is we take one each and we talk about their career. Who wants to go first?
I usually go first, so Dave.
I'll jump in first,
Do you wanna go-
I'll jump in first.
I went first last night.
Now,
so
can we
you-
just before you start, just go through that picture again? He's got
picture, Dev.
he's drawn a picture here on.
I'm currently using my goddaughter's art book. So it is notes and pictures.
Tough times, Dev. Can't buy your own notepad.
Lost my notepad 2 days ago. Don't know where it went to. Can't be bothered looking for it. This will do.
Fair enough. Right, Dev, lead the way there. Who did you go for this time? Because yours was a wee bit controversial last time. Like, Ronaldo.
Well, not controversial this time because I've went with someone who's won absolutely nothing, but he was a great footballer.
Right.
Matt Letizia.
Matt Letizia.
Oh, I beg
Fair enough,
pardon.
okay.
It's all right.
So I've decided to go for Matt Letizia. Anyone who's sort of familiar with Matt Letizier's career knows that he spent his entire professional career at Southampton
He did.
from 1986 to 2002.
Mhm.
And, that's not to say that he didn't have offers from all around the place because he was a fantastic footballer, as we're going to get into.
Nah.
But for anyone listening that doesn't know, Matt Letizia was an attacking midfield, a number 10. Sort of before it was as popular as it is now, that position, Matt
Yeah.
Letizia was the god at that position.
Aye. Letizier's got like a sort of. He's got a bit of nostalgia about him because he's that kind of like.
He scored
he-
screamers.
Is he in shape? I don't think he is.
Even in his prime, he wasn't in shape.
I don't think he's in shape. But he's definitely running rings around men out there.
Oh, aye.
Like he's playing in the Premier League and he's running rings around men. But is he in shape? Not really.
But he was so talented, he played the game at his pace.
Oh, he did surely. I love players like
No, he was fantastic. But he spent his whole professional career at Southampton, and he also won, which was a crime, 8 caps for England.
Jesus,
8
I didn't
caps.
know it was that little.
Yeah, he was snubbed so many times by so many different managers.
That's ridiculous.
They had nobody in that position as talented as Matt Letizia, and for
Yeah.
him to get 8 caps is crazy. Like,
Suppose you had maybe at the time, like your Gascoignes and all.
Gascoigne, I suppose, he would have been one, but then I always like mid-90s Letizia, and by that stage Gaz had went off the rails like a good bit, like,
Mm-hmm.
so Letizia was a ridiculously talented
It's
player.
just like a he was just like a feather, wasn't he? He was just that light and like.
It's a bygone era that there. That sort of. He definitely drinks a lot of the weekend, doesn't he?
Oh, aye. Definitely enjoys a fag or two at half time.
But as an
cigarette
absolute-
for, you know.
What do you call it? I just played the game at his own pace, and you know, an exceedingly talented footballer.
Oh, he was and just a joy to watch. But he was nicknamed Le God by Saints fans, who obviously love him because a club the size of Southampton should never have a player as talented as Letizia for his whole career. You know, that just doesn't happen anymore with the money
No,
in the
we
game.
talked about that. It kind of come back a little, touched a lot of it, but then there's a lot of money in the Premier League now. Like you had the likes of like David Ginola and stuff at Aston Villa, sort of
Yeah.
overly Paolo Di Canio at the tail end of his career playing for
Aye.
West Ham and stuff. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
aye, yeah. But even then, they all, you know, won things before.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Letizia, it's crazy to think he's never really won anything.
No,
You know, a few individual honours and things which I'll get into, but he's never really won, you know,
hasn't got a medal to
a
his name.
medal to his name. Yeah, basically, it's crazy. But for anyone who's watched him knows he's a great creative player and he had great technical skill. Like, think of, you know,
Like a Mesut Ozil style, you know, slowed it down a touch, but more physical because he was kind of out of shape, and like
he had
a
a
better
good-
strike.
I don't know. He was so good too that he was one of them players very few can do it. He can do in one or two touches what takes most players sort of 3 or 4. You know,
Aye.
he was just
That sort of season,
had that
remember,
control under the ball. Like,
mind that like season Dele Alli had playing off Harry Kane, and he was playing an absolute blinder of a season.
Aye,
It was like
yeah.
peak Dele Alli, whatever, you know, it was probably because he was playing right up beside Harry Kane and stuff, but the goals he scored that year and stuff where he was they can find space in a phone booth, like, or whatever
aye,
the
yeah,
expression
yeah.
is, like, you know, that sort of carry on.
Oh, aye, just a great mind for the game. Like,
I used to
Um,
love watching Letizia. Like he was technical ability was out there, like with the best of them.
YouTube, Matt Letizier's greatest ever goals, and
oh,
it's just
aye, and
bangers.
it's just oh, yeah.
So good.
Letizia had some screamers in his day, like, but he's currently Southampton's second highest scorer of all time. For a midfielder, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
He was voted PFA Young Player of the Year in the 1990 season. That season he scored 20 goals.
That's decent.
He was only like 19 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy, like. He played obviously 443 games for Southampton, scoring 161 goals, which is a great return,
That's a
like,
great return,
for a
really.
midfielder. Like, he was the first midfielder in Premier League history to reach 100 goals. So he was the first midfielder to.
I was just gonna say, I think he actually has 100 exactly, doesn't he?
I
I think he has
not
100.
sure what his Premier League tally is. I know he had 161 in
I-
total for
I
Southampton,
think-
but I'm not sure what
I
his
think
He slapped bang on the 100
I think
mark.
he's slap bang on the 100 mark.
slap bang on the century.
Aye. Nice
That'd
to
be
see.
cool.
Aye.
But he was the first midfielder in the Premier League, obviously, to reach 100 goals, and he was also a master penalty taker. In his career, he scored 47 penalties out of 48 attempts.
That's ridiculous. That's quality. Aye, he was a bit of a
Has
dead ball
anyone got
specialist,
a
aye.
better record from 12 yards? Like,
Doubtful, like, doubtful, very doubtful.
That's very impressive.
yeah,
Aye.
third of his goals from the
Do you
spot.
know where I
just-
remember him too? Well, maybe you have it written down, maybe you don't, so I'm going to say it anyway. Do you remember the old Master League, boy? Do you remember the indoor soccer that used to be on
Sky?
On Sky?
Oh,
that
I'm
had, like,
coming
a-
down about that. I think I remember
Aye,
it.
fuck, Letizia was good in it too, boy. He was playing in it, like, as
Oh,
well.
he would be the best on the
That,
court. Like,
that was
Oh,
quality too. We should even talk about that. Like fucking just for like a wee random tangent, but the Master League used to be like a thing over. I can't remember if it was like a Sunday morning or something, but it was basically indoor soccer but retired football players. We
Uh-huh.
should definitely bring that back. That was a banger. How you played indoor soccer. I think it was maybe 4-a-side, 5-a-side. I think it might have even just been 4-a-side or something. It was on a tight little pitch to the keeper, obviously, and all that there. But there used to be some bangers scored in that there too. It was all ex-pros and like at the time ex-professionals were ex-professionals. Like they got severely out of shape and you know.
Some of them were severely out of shape in their career.
You know, the end of Robbie Fowler, like.
Back in the drinking and
Aye.
partying culture.
Yeah. Letizia was a part of that too, like.
Oh, I like big part of it. But Letizia,
Just when you said master there or something or whatever it was.
in 2020, Eurosports voted him the best all-time Premier League player.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, go on Eurosports.
Eurosport was maybe the channel that was on.
Could well have been.
Good segue, way.
But in 1880,
It's because he was good in the Master League.
in 1986, he broke in as an 18-year-old, scoring 6 goals in 24 games, including a hat-trick against Leicester.
Ooh.
So that was his first real sort of, as 18-year-old, breaking onto the scene. The
Yeah.
next season then, he scored 9 and 28. And in the 89-90 season, he scored obviously the 20 goals to win the Young Player of the Year.
Mhm.
And in the 1990s too, I think there was only one season he didn't hit double figures for a
Jesus,
midfielder. Like is
And he like played off the left a wee bit of a touch too.
Aye.
Played it off the wing a wee bit. With, like,
and
no
like this
pace.
isn't, this is, Southampton weren't a force, in 5 of his first 7 seasons at Southampton, they were in relegation battles, and one of the seasons they survived on goal difference. Like, I mean, he was fighting for a relegation threatened team, and
Southampton are always kind of down there, like they're that
Oh,
sort of like producer club. They're always known for a good academy and stuff like that. And, but aye.
They've produced a lot of talent down the years. Like, they've got Latisse, put players through like Gareth Bale, also like
Theo Walcott and
Theo
stuff.
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yeah.
They've put in like, I suppose, well, Luke Shaw's probably one of the later ones. He's maybe not as up in higher ranks as some of them players, but they've a good academy there, Southampton.
definitely 100%. Like,
Well run club, like.
I think, well, I'm not to go totally into Dev's story here, but I think he's from Guernsey.
he is. That's like a wee island, isn't it?
Southampton's right down there in the coast, like.
I don't know if it wouldn't impact why he didn't play more for England, but I don't know if it's.
Well, the way
Guernsey does have a French influence, like.
Like his name's French, like his surname, obviously. But a lot of people have said that it could be because he's like not many people not born in England play for England. So there could have been a bit of bias there.
Could have been too. I suppose that's true enough too. Like you're not a million miles away there from like John Barnes being playing for England and stuff and getting racist chants from his own fans and banana skins thrown at him and shit like that. So you're not a long time away from that. Like you're saying he's playing there like 1986 and stuff like.
That's
John Barnes.
That's then like.
Aye.
I don't know if any of you remember this, but it's been in so many football clips. Is 40-yard chip against Blackburn.
That's
it won the match of the day goal of the season in 1981 season.
It's the Eric Cantona one on that one, like,
no,
isn't it?
you know that you just always see in any compilation video. And what a goal it was.
Bangers like.
No, he won the match of the day goal of the season, I think, in 2 different seasons, and he won like Southampton's Player of the Year like 4 or 5 times. And,
do you know what was good about Southampton? It was back out when it was down at the Dell. It was a lively old stadium too, like before they moved to St. Mary's.
I'm getting to the Dell.
Sorry. We get very excited for this one. This is good crack.
I'll jump in with my wee Dell fact. Matt Le Tissier scored the final ever goal Southampton scored in the Dell, and it was also his final ever goal for Southampton.
Right.
So it's a pretty,
I think I might seeing something like that.
It's pretty cool. Like his final goal for Southampton was also the final goal ever scored in the Dell. It was against Arsenal, and for him being probably the club's biggest legend.
So he never actually played at St. Mary's then with them. Is that right?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
The Dell was like a real tight wee pitch. It was like the old Highbury where you were right on top of people. Like.
Yeah. I just about remember it. Like.
I just remember seeing it from clips and stuff. It was like a wee like shed and stuff. It was. You were right on top of the pitch. Like that's something that's a wee bit lost in some stadiums nowadays.
Like stadiums I hate, like West Ham, London Olympic Stadium.
Arsenal's is very like that too. Actually, one thing that Tottenham got right building that new stadium of theirs is they built up the way instead of like Arsenal went into like a bowl. They went out the way, whereas like Spurs went up and kind of went vertically. So it's you're quite on top of it too. Like
nice and close space.
It's nice like.
But apart from one season, I brought that up earlier, he got into double figures every season in the 90s, apart from one, which is just crazy. Like, a decade of just banging in goals. Like
I can't remember what podcast we were doing. It might have been that like Premier League team or something we were talking about, but I remember like looking into Le Tissier. We had to do like a Premier League team.
Le Tissier really is the definition of a luxury player. Like,
absolutely. Like,
but frig, he's so good.
Apparently he hated playing on the wing because it involved more running. And he had no pace.
He didn't need pace, but
he didn't need pace, but like need pace to maybe get back the way, and he wasn't having it.
He was that silky smooth. Like players like that, if you think of even I know they're different positions, but like a Bergkamp or a Berbatov, they don't need pace.
They're quite apt comparisons there. Like
they're just
that control under the ball and that.
Prime Ozil too. Like for anybody that's younger that's listening, Ozil when he was in his prime was very much like that. Like sort of just very silky, very.
I think Ozil still holds the record for Premier League assists in a season. Like when he first first on the scene at Arsenal when he was at Madrid under Jose Mourinho, he was great.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Ronaldo was fuming whenever they sold him, wasn't he? Like,
Yeah.
Ronaldo was a big fan of
To be
Ozil.
fair, I think it was that big contract that ruined him. But
God knows what weight went with him.
well.
Nah, Letizia.
But anyway, but he had interest throughout his time at Southampton from Chelsea, United, Spurs, Liverpool, AC Milan, among others. But there's the few I've plucked out. But interestingly enough, he turned down a move in 1995 to Chelsea. The fee was 10 million, and it would have made him the most expensive ever English signing, like Premier League player. Which would have been crazy, like, and then
there's some decent teams in that 90s.
Blackburn
Right.
also come in that summer with a higher offer, although they don't know what the offer was exactly. But it also would have made them.
They were trying to buy
and
the
they were
Premier
trying
League
to
with us.
buy because that was been the season they won the league, 95.
Yeah,
So
that was it.
that'd be the season right after they won the league.
A lot of good ballers.
Obviously wanted to bring Letizia in. Could you imagine Letizia and Shearer and something?
They
They'd have won the league again.
under Kenny Dalglish too. Kenny Dalglish was very much that type of style of player too, like playing off the striker.
But but that could, a lot of people have said too that could show like a lack of ambition in Letizia, because he had all these offers to go and play in top clubs and win trophies, and he didn't. But then his loyalty too.
It is, Steven Gerrard could have won way more trophies than he did in his time at Liverpool. It's sort of a bit of luck as well, like. But,
that's it too.
But if he was committed to Southampton, sure. It is
committed to, but then it's different. Gerrard wasn't a team that could win, whereas Letizia was in a relegation strap team every season, and relegation battle, and
You gotta sometimes just look at them players and give them a bit of credit where it's due.
That's it. Like you could admire that sort of loyalty, like.
Oh, definitely.
Because there's a lot of players now that, if you even look at look at like an Aston Villa team. We're gonna leave it off topic here, but look at Aston Villa. Like if Aston Villa go down when this league restarts up again, like their main man's Jack Grealish. If they
but then in saying that, I don't think Letizia ever went down with Southampton. Like, I mean, it might have been a different story if he went down.
I know.
But, just constant relegation battles.
I'm not, as you say it, I'm not 100% sure either if they went down or not, but I'm just sort of saying that, the likes of a Grealish is like a star player at Villa. You can imagine if he goes down, you can't see, at this rate, you couldn't see him staying. I don't know if, maybe if they went down, Tiss would have stayed with Southampton, but
he does not for a lack of suitors anyway. Like everybody was
everyone was in for him. Like it's not like it's not like he decided to stay at a relegation club because that was his level. Like he was, United wanted him, Blackburn wanted him, Chelsea wanted him, all the big hitters of the time wanted him. Like he's a great player.
No, he's very good.
But fact about Letizia is he scored a hat-trick in a friendly leading up to the 1998 World Cup, but Glenn Hoddle snubbed him and left him out of the side.
Nice.
And he cites that as the turning point in his career, when his career started to nosedive, and he just lost all his confidence. And like, what more do I have to do to go and play in a major tournament? Like, and 8 caps, like a player of that talent having 8 caps. But I think it could be a lot to do with the style that England played at the time too. Like, if he was Spanish, he'd have had a lot more caps. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely,
England were very...
They wanted, they weren't going to carry any passengers in the midfield. They played their 4-4-2. They needed 2 energetic, box-to-box, up and down midfielders.
Like, they were playing Gaza in '86, and Gaza at that stage it went off the rails at least twice. Like, I mean, like, he was a worse version of Gaza. Like, he wasn't Gaza at Gaza's peak sort of thing, but I mean, he probably had, but at the same time, it coincides with Gaza's downturn. And
what about Letiz's peak?
Letiz's peak was brilliant too. Like, I mean, but Gaza was definitely better, I think. But I mean, Letizia was quite good for the majority of the 90s. Like, whereas Gaza after about 1984 was
moving about. He was moving about,
bouncing about a bit. Like,
but then I think, and it's another thing that reason that Letizia is underrated is that he was at a small club and hasn't got the trophy cabinet. Like, I mean, Letizia could have walked into any top team, and if he was in a top team and won many league titles with a top team, he'd have been thought of as a much more top player than what he is thought of. But he was that good a player.
Oh, definitely.
He doesn't have the trophy cabinet to back it up. But it's without he had the offers. He could have had the trophy cabinet to back it up.
Oh, definitely.
But it's crazy. Like, imagine scoring a hat trick in the run up to the World Cup and then not getting picked.
Not even getting the squad call up. Like.
No. It's just, I don't know.
There was a
and
quite
he literally said in like an interview that's the point his career turned. That's the turning point. That's he just started to lose his confidence and his motivation and his
I don't
put on the gut.
I don't know what
he always had a wee bit of a gut.
The gut got bigger.
I don't know what maybe, as you said, like it could be to do with that England team at the time and their style of play. But if you've got like a player like Gaza, say like the Euros or whatever, like Gaza was outstanding. Like, you know, he was probably the player that the 90s, you know, the player that England were looking at. This is the star man. But just what you're saying about being snubbed after getting that hat trick, to snubbed from being selected from the team, like. Surely, like,
it was against Russia too. Like, it's not like he was playing some nobody like San Marino. Like, he's got a hat trick against Russia.
Surely,
a good side.
Surely, there's
spot for him. Like,
surely there's someone in that squad where, like, you know, we could say, right, this fella here, we could drop him. If we bring in Tis, like, even if
it's the last 15 minutes of a game and you're flinging him on to nick a goal, like,
you're bringing on a completely different style of player who could make things happen.
England need a penalty taker, like.
Well, here,
well, they be getting knocked out of penalty shootouts without 47 out of 48 penalties.
There's a can of worms that you've opened.
Absolutely.
But so he lasted playing with Southampton till 2002, and then he finished up his career outside of the Football League with Eastleigh in the non-league. He had a 2-year spell there, but he was done at that stage. I think he played 17 games in 2 years.
And he went on to have a wonderful career in the Master League.
He ended up come out of retirement in 2013 for 1 game for Guernsey.
Decent. Probably still tore it up too.
Don't know.
He definitely did. Like.
I don't know what age he'd have been, but, you know, fairly old. But that's basically all I have down on Matt Le Tiss. But what a career he had! Like,
good.
I don't know. He's definitely when this whole Premier League Hall of Fame, he has to go in early enough too. Like, straight in there. Like,
do you mind his goal where the ball's come in and he's took 2 touches, dinked over to the defender?
Yeah.
And, he was just a scrumptious footballer. Like,
and
he's
godly
just a human highlight reel. Like,
godly first touch. Hell of a player.
He's really good. I enjoy this. Like.
I like this podcast. You know why?
I enjoy it.
It's decent.
It's decent.
But I'm just going to finish by saying he's not a great pundit by any stretch of it.
He hates Liverpool too. Like, so you take all Southampton good players.
I'm not a huge fan of his punditry work, but he was a great footballer.
The only criticism probably on his career is that he definitely enjoyed himself when he was playing, and it maybe took away a wee bit of upward potential. Like, you know,
maybe slightly, could be argued, lacked ambition. Lacked the ambition to go on and do what he could have done. Like, he was talented enough to go on and win Premier Leagues and challenge for Champions Leagues and play in World Cups. Like if he left Southampton and joined Chelsea in '95, do you think he'd have finished his career with 8 caps?
No,
not a chance.
No.
Like, it's still the way England picks them today. Like, you know, I'm sure, you know, players like Jesse Lingard will get called up way before players who are playing far better at a smaller club.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a boy like Todd Cantwell's never going to get called up before a Jesse Lingard. You know what I mean?
True.
And you know, Todd Cantwell's a better player at the minute. Like,
no, absolutely.
You know, it's just the way it's the way England have always operated. The bigger, so if he went to one of them bigger clubs, he'd have finished with a lot more caps. Like,
it could be due to what you were saying about him when he got the confidence knocked out of him once he got snubbed. He could have been maybe that sort of player too that was like in a safe zone. Maybe he had always had the doubts if I moved to somewhere else, I could be out of my comfort zone, and maybe he wouldn't be doing as well. Like,
it could be a lot to do with his loyalty, but it could be a lot to do with his.
There was maybe a wee bit left on the table with him just because he maybe didn't take the football seriously. Well, they didn't. There was a drinking culture in football in them days, like, so, and maybe just didn't go as far as it could have possibly. But a hell of a player in his time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go? Or do you want me to go, Vesty?
No, you go, sure.
Right.
I don't know who either of you picked, so this is exciting.
Well, I'm picking.
I know who he's picking.
Matt Le Tiss.
Well, this is awkward.
The greatest awful footballer of all time. An absolute genius. I love him. One of my favourite players of all time, and a horrendously great but shite footballer. I'm doing Filippo Inzaghi.
Yeah.
So if nobody knows who Filippo Inzaghi is, it's not like you can go and watch Filippo Inzaghi highlights like you can do with Matt Le Tiss or Batistuta or Ronaldo.
6-yard tappings.
Filippo Inzaghi.
Filippo Inzaghi was a great striker.
An absolutely phenomenal striker who was absolutely awful at football. Just seemed that there was goals deflected in off his back. There was things hitting off his shins, but the ball he seemed to always have a nose for where the ball was going to land within the radius of like penalty spotting in. Made a living and a very long and very successful career doing this. And nobody really knows because he played for some absolutely fantastic teams.
But it's not even like, you know, he was a great goal scorer, but that was it.
Oh, it. And like, I mean,
he couldn't hold the ball up.
Aye.
You know,
No.
he couldn't get other players into play.
No.
He wasn't creative.
No.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he finished his career in 0 assists. Like,
I mean, absolutely shocking footballer. Like, no pace.
no pace, no
strength.
upper body strength.
No, really skinny.
Looked sickly at times.
Shocking footballer.
And him sweating buckets too.
But what a goal scorer.
Oh, phenomenal goal scorer. So we'll run through his career here. It's an absolute amazing career that he had. Like, he's played with some brilliant strikers too, which is ridiculous. And, you know, it's insane. I really like him. I had like a AC Milan jersey with Inzaghi on the back when I was younger. I thought he was class. He fucked Liverpool in 2007. Like, he scored but a hell of a player and a hell of a long career. Like, but for a man that was that bad at football, like, to have the length and
well, he had obviously things he was great at. Like, he was one of the best finishers about. Like, and his like his movement and intelligence and ability to find space in the box was great.
Like, I mean, I know what you're getting at, like, but I mean, you know, there was a lot of scuffed finishes.
But you know, there's a lot of talent in being a poacher.
No, there is.
You know,
like, I mean,
you know, if everyone could be a poacher, everyone would be a poacher.
Like, there's the good level of poacher. Like, there's the Ruud van Nistelrooy level of poacher, who, like, you're like, oh my god, he's an unbelievably talented poacher, and then you're like, is Inzaghi good? I'm not really sure, but we'll get into it. I've got a few quotes why. So he started at 18 for his hometown team, Piacenza. He didn't play, but he was loaned to a Serie C side called Albinalefe. That's probably wrong.
Butchered.
He scored 13 goals in 21 appearances in 1981. And then in 1983 he moved to Hellas Verona. They were in Serie B at the time, and he scored 13 goals in 36 appearances. So, like, you can obviously tell that he's got a wee bit of a nose for goal. And then he returned to Piacenza, and he scored 15 and 37, and they won promotion to Serie A. So he goes to Serie A, and his debut for Parma. He scores 2 and 15 that following season. So not a great goal return. Parma obviously in the 90s were a hell of a team. Like, I would assume that the majority of that was off the bench because, you know, people. The following season he moved to Atalanta, and he was the top goal scorer in the league with 24 goals, and he won Serie A Young Player of the Year. So you can tell that he's got like a wee nose for goal. He was an interesting character too. He was a complete like wind-up merchant. He was like, there's more interesting footage of like Filippo Inzaghi celebrating goals than there is like how good his goals were. You get more entertainment out of watching the celebrations. He went absolutely nuts every time. Apparently he was a wee shit stirrer. Like he really tried to rile up defenders. And as we said before in the previous podcast or previous episode of this one, that Serie A at the time was obviously the pinnacle of sort of leagues as far as around the world goes. Like, it was where all the talent was. It was where all the elite defenders were. It was a exceedingly good league. Like, so he's bagging goals and probably at the time the toughest league in the world. In 1997-98 he moved to Juve, and he scored twice in the Supercoppa, which is played at the start of the season. He was playing up there with the likes of a young Zinedine Zidane and Alessandro Del Piero. They won 3-0 anyway in that final. The won Scudetto that year. He bagged 18 goals in all. Scored 3 against Bologna. Scored 6 goals in the Champions League that year. They were beaten in the final by Madrid. I think that was the year that we were talking about last night when Madrid won their first title under Heynckes. So I think that maybe links a wee bit to what we were talking about last night.
Okay.
But I scored 6 goals in the Champions League, and that would be something that would continue on throughout his career. His European goal record is exceeding for how absolutely terrible this footballer was. In 1988-99, Juve finished.
Did he ever? Where's he at in the all-time goal scorer list? Oh no, it was Raul that Ronaldo took the record off, wasn't it? I was thinking for a second there it was Inzaghi. I was like, no, wait, it was Raul. What am I on about?
It was Raul, surely. Juve finished 7th in 98-99. He scored 20 goals in all competitions. Top goal scorer for the team. He got 6 in the Champions League again that year, so back-to-back years in the Champions League he bagged 6 goals. And he scored 2 versus United in the first 10 minutes, and that was the Juve game that you came back and won, the Roy Keane game.
Yes.
Header from the corner.
Yeah, header from the corner. But Inzaghi bagged 2 in that game in the first 10 minutes, which is forgotten about because the performance there that day was, Roy Keane, like, obviously.
Best player on the pitch, best player on the planet, best player in existence for that 90 minutes. The greatest 90 minutes of football ever played by
Well,
one
my
player.
man up the other end did his bit, okay?
Roy Keane at Nottingham Forest. Actually,
So my man up the other end did his bit because he wasn't doing anything else. 99-2000 he won.
Could he hold the ball up? Could he fuck?
He could do absolutely nothing. In 1999-2000 he won the Intertoto Cup. He scored 2 in the final versus Rennes.
Intertoto Cup.
Intertoto Cup. It's been getting a shout out this last couple of nights here, the Intertoto Cup.
Yeah.
He had 15 goals in Serie A that year, and they finished second to Lazio that year. 2000-2001 they finished second again. But there was a rift between him and Alessandro Del Piero because he wouldn't pass them. Because when people go through and goal, people shoot him.
The only time people ever received the ball when you sue a goal, because you don't involve people in build-up play. Like,
Oh no, you don't. Like,
you give the ball to people when he has to shoot, and that's.
Again, back to his playing style. He played on the shoulder of the last man, and he had to because he had no pace.
But Dave's understanding that the man had great intelligence, like he had great movement. He always was in space. He always.
Oh, he was a pest because he played on the shoulder of the last man when the ball was played into the channel and he was trying to get there. And he had to... Well, basically, there's a quote here I have from Alex Ferguson who said that lad must have been born offside. Because he was caught offside multiple times again just because he needed people in Zag would be done in the air of VAR because he would never get the head start. He played in the shoulder of the last man and... it was sort of like even sort of ricochets in the box. It was one of them people that how does it always fall to his foot, that sort of carry on. But not an overly talented footballer, like as far as skill wise and stuff. But
match intelligence unrivaled.
Match intelligence unrivaled. But he was playing with the likes of Del Piero, who was a phenomenal number 10.
He's a phenomenal player in general.
He just basically didn't get on with Del Piero because I think there was an incident where they were both through in goal and like the easy option was to square to Del Piero who to tap into the empty net, and people was like, absolutely not, I'm going to try and raid the keeper here.
Typical.
I know what he was at, like striker.
But like yourself, Dave.
So he was on the road out of Juventus because that was Del Piero's team. But all in all, for his run in Juve, he had 89 goals and 165 appearances, which is an outstanding return. Like I am telling you that he is a shocking footballer, but his goal return was phenomenal. I'll have a couple of quotes here because I wrote these down. They're pretty interesting to sort of give you perception on Pipo Inzaghi. Johan Cruyff was quoted as saying, "Look, he actually can't play football." So one of the greatest minds in football, who created Barcelona, Dutch total football, and has sort of everything to do with how La Masia was built and Barcelona's success in the mid 2000s.
Oh my!
Said that Pipo Inzaghi couldn't play football. Obviously there was the Ferguson quote that he must have been born offside. I've got a quote here that said that they did a rondo every day in training. Obviously we know what a rondo is. It's a circle with two men in the middle, a tight circle, and they pass it around the circle. Obviously if the one of the guys in the middle, then you swap out. The aim is the two men in the circle to win the ball off the players on the outside of the circle, all that sort of carry on.
Yeah.
This player is quoted as saying, "We did a rondo every day, but he didn't participate because he couldn't keep up. He knew that he was always going to be in the middle because his touch was awful, and he couldn't pass the ball. And you would think with all the elite players that he had played with, that was coming from somebody like the likes of Kaka or Shevchenko or something. That was coming from Jaap Stam.
Jaap Stam was a great ball playing centre half. Jaap Stam was better in the ball than Inzaghi.
Absolutely. In reference to his Italy career, Robbie Di Matteo said that when he turned up to the Italian training camp, the players laughed at him, Maldini included, because he was absolutely shocking. They were like, how and why is he here? But I think that he kind of took a lot of that personally too. Like, he was a complete wind-up merchant, and did celebrate goals in an excessive manner and stuff, and he did try to wind up defenders and stuff like that there. But there's a ream of quotes there about his sort of actual ability on the football and not being all that Tara. He just scored a lot of goals.
I mind him whenever he'd see him score some goals, he would actually go absolutely crazy.
Oh, buck mad!
Did you ever see when he'd run back to the corner flag and the hands would be flying about and the mouth would be
roaring and screaming,
and the hair bouncing everywhere?
He had a wonderful haircut too. So he moved on to AC Milan then, so he's playing for the Giants of Italian football. He was injured to start his career in Milan, but he came back scoring goals in 2002, 2003. They won the Champions League on pens versus Juve, and they also won the Coppa Italia that year, so he's got quite a long resume of titles here already. 2003, 2004 they won the Super Cup, the Super Coppa, which is played at the start of the season, and then the Scudetto as well, so they won the domestic treble basically in Italy. A phenomenal team. Rolls on to the 05-06 season. He scored 12 and 22 appearances in Serie A, scored 4 and 5 appearances in the Champions League, and that was obviously the year that they lost us in the final. Skipping on towards 07, they dubbed it the People final, the Inzaghi final. He scored both goals, beating Liverpool, who had made it back to the final. 2-1. One goal was a free kick taken by, I think it was Andrea Pirlo, and it sort of hit off his side and chest, and like the wall was sort of just inside the box, on the edge of the box. Like, people lined up just to the side of the wall with maybe like a 2 or 3 yard gap to run in to catch any spills off the goalkeeper, and instead, like, Pirlo, I think, is aiming sort of to bend it in top right. The shot goes sort of iffy, it's hit sort of low and hard, it wasn't the cleanest connection, but it hits people in his chest or in his side, and he goes absolutely buck mental. It sends the keeper the wrong way. The keeper's obviously diving to the keeper's left towards the right of the goal, and it hits people on the side, and it goes the opposite direction, and he celebrates it like it was Zlatan's overhead kick versus England. The second one, it was actually quite a tidy finish. It was the one to seal the game. He scored, he rounded the keeper. In 2008 they won the Super Cup and they won the Club World Cup, obviously after winning the Champions League. He was winding down then, obviously, in his career. He'd been playing since 1991, and obviously a man that wasn't physically gifted and didn't have pace and strength or whatever. He still had the option to be a super sub off the bench. He was an option for AC Milan until the late 2000s, his skills had waned somewhat. He continued to score goals for the next few years in Serie A, 10-11, but an ACL on the 13th of May 2012, he played his last game for AC Milan, and he got an absolutely raucous reception from the, is it the Rossoneri? I think that's what they call their fans. That's could be completely wrong. That could be Juve, and you criticise that. But the last goal he ever scored for AC Milan was probably the best Inzaghi goal you'll ever see. He came off the bench, there was very little time left, and he took it in the chest and hit it in the volley from outside the box. Craziest thing I've ever seen. Like,
for Inzaghi?
Like the one Pete, I've never seen him do anything like that before. But that was the end of his club career. He also obviously played for Italy. I mentioned about Robbie Di Matteo quoting about laughing at him when he turned up to the Italian training camp and stuff about how bad he was.
Yes.
In Euro 2000, he scored 2 goals, and they were beaten in the final by France that year. The Italian side. He was the top scorer in qualifying for both the 02 World Cup and the 04 Euros for Italy as well, which is, I did not know, and was kind of crazy. But he was injured for some time, and then he was included in the World Cup squad in 06. Obviously, that was sort of even in 05, 06, 07, when he was in playing for AC Milan, he was still off the bench. Like, that was Shevchenko and Crespo the first time around. Yeah. He did come off the bench quite a bit. He was the perfect super sub. But he scored in the group in the World Cup squad, and
no Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Don't you start. But I scored in the World Cup. In 06 he scored against the Czech Republic, and that was obviously the year that Italy won the World Cup in 2006. So he's got a laundry list of achievements. He's got Scudettos all over the place. He's got Champions Leagues, a couple of them. which is absolutely crazy. He's got a World Cup as well, multiple finals appearances. His career is absolutely insane for the level of from the quotes that I literally just said.
Do you think we should swap Inzaghi and Letizier's careers?
Like an absolutely shocking footballer.
You know, like if Inzaghi was having relegation battles, you know, season in, season out, make more sense.
He'd have won in the league. But, just a few stats about a man's career. He scored 313 goals, which is the 7th highest total in Italian history. So a crazy stat when you consider some of the players that have played in Italy. And the craziest one is that he is the 5th highest goal scorer in European club competitions, with 70 goals, which is absolutely insane. Like, who's ahead of him is, you know, Cristiano, Lionel Messi, Raul, and Robert Lewandowski. Unbelievable footballers, highly talented footballers, and slot right in there with 70 goals in European Cup competition is Filippo Inzaghi.
Who's right below him? Who's he sandwiched between?
I don't know that. But he's always going to be 5th.
You're trying to say here that a man's definitely still a living here?
Lad, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, he wasn't... He's got the most hat-tricks in Serie A.
What?
Ever. He's got 10 hat-tricks, which is the most in Serie A history.
That's ridiculous.
How he's got 10 hat-tricks, I don't know. He's never scored the perfect hat-trick. Like, I would bet my hat on it right now. He's never scored one with the left, one with the right, one with the head. Hasn't happened.
He's probably scored one with the side, one with the back, and one with the shin. The imperfect hat-trick.
He had 25 goals and 57 appearances for Italy. He's got 2 Champions Leagues, 3 Scudettos, a World Cup, and a litany of other trophies on his resume. Just one last thing to round out about Filippo Inzaghi, who is one of my favourite strikers of all time, probably up there with Gabriel Batistuta. You know, the level change there is sure ridiculous. Carlo Ancelotti, in a game against Bayern in 2005 when they were on the road, to making the Champions League final. Ancelotti is quoted as saying he was aiming bottom right, it went top left, and he was offside. In reference to a goal that Filippo Inzaghi scored. Crazy career, an exceeding amount of trophies, laundry list of accomplishments. Being 5th all time in European club football history is insane. He wasn't even the best. The best of it is he wasn't even the best footballer in his family. Simone Inzaghi was a better footballer, but he played at Lazio for a good portion of his career and stuff. He had I think it was his younger brother, I think Simone is, isn't he? I'm sure he is.
I think so.
Both in management now.
Both in management. And people shite. People's
in the Serie B, isn't he?
He is that.
And Simone is.
He was managing.
I think he is at Lazio.
I want to say Lazio.
He took over at AC a few years ago, didn't he? For a wee while.
He's a shocking manager. Like, because what is he going to teach anybody?
How to be offside?
How to be offside? Aiming
How
bottom.
to trick the linesman into thinking you're onside?
Aiming bottom right. It went top left and he was offside is the perfect quote to sort of end up with Filippo Inzaghi. So a crazy player who didn't have as much talent as anyone else that we will ever mention.
If anyone
in this
here,
podcast,
hasn't seen, Letizia or Inzaghi, if you're going to watch one of their YouTube highlights, watch Letizia.
Don't watch any of this. Watch Inzaghi's closing goal and leave it at that. His last goal for AC Milan's the best thing he's ever done. It was like on the chest, turned away from the goal on the volley. Absolutely unbelievable. Watch that and watch nothing else.
The amount of players that have the best talent in the world that have not even a fraction of them honours to their name, like, and Inzaghi's nearly got everything.
Absolutely.
I bet you if you offered Letizia a community shield, he'd be over the moon. Then you have Inzaghi.
The absolute ridiculous. We were talking about Matt Letizia, and
although I say now, like, AC Milan were one of the teams interested in Letizia. Could you imagine, him and Inzaghi could have been playing together?
No work rate there.
No.
Jesus.
For, like, as we're saying, like, the level of Matt Letizia is absolutely outrageous, and he has no trophies to his name, and the level of Filippo Inzaghi, and he's got World Cups and Scudettos and a laundry, just a ridiculous amount of achievement.
Shocking, like, isn't it?
It's wonderful. That's why I love him. But Vesty, we're in the south then, big man.
Who have you on for?
Best for last time, I suppose, is it?
You went with Clarence Seedorf the last time.
I went with Clarence Seedorf last time. A wee bit of thought about this one, and it's very hard to stay away from that AC Milan team,
It's hard to stay away from Italy in general, I think, in this sort of era of football.
Like, I was thinking of Shevchenko and how good he was in AC Milan team during them early 2000s, but
It wasn't better than people. Like.
Jumping back in Italy, way.
Golden boot winners, absolutely not.
Ballon d'Or winner Shevchenko, but yet, you know, Inzaghi's a lot more.
Inzaghi scored in the final. Like.
Aye.
Well, I didn't go back there, so where I have went, this
Oh,
man's-
you threw his curveball there.
Oh,
I
so
thought you were
I've-
going straight back.
No, I threw a slight curveball here. Boys, I have went.
David Bentley. Knew it.
What is
Knew it. What, you quoted David Bentley twice, I think. Strange.
Are you getting like weird David Bentley vibes? Like, you know.
It's David Bentley or Jermaine Genius. Put us out of our misery.
Jermaine Genius played in the final and people won.
Boys, I've went for Henrik Larsson.
Oh.
Aye, that's decent, aye.
I've went for Big Henrik.
It's a
from
good
Celtic.
Celtic.
3 Premier League goals for Manchester United alone. What a player.
Henrik was an outstanding player.
Jesus, right, aye, decent. I'll have to edit that out. Or I might not, I'll probably leave it in. Good lad, Dave. We're in a confined space, that's what we need.
What did he just do there?
Hard lad,
Yeah.
that's what he did.
That one out, yeah.
I did that.
Oh,
Yeah.
good man,
Right.
Dave.
Henrik Larsson, bestie.
That's nice in an enclosed space.
Lovely.
Right, so anyway, back to Henrik. Henrik was a brilliant footballer. Anybody that, you know, was Scottish football's, you know, it's very much these days not very good quality, but you know, obviously the Glasgow Derby is always interesting to watch. But I remember back in the early 2000s, late 90s, some of the good quality players in Scotland, like, you have to give it to them. There was a lot of good players, and Henrik was definitely one of them.
Oh, aye.
Used to be great to see him
The
playing.
disparity between Scotland and England wasn't as big back in the 80s, 90s, 2000, like even early 2000s as it is now. It's huge now. Like,
It was all that. Them talks were a lot more prevalent, sort of back then, when it was like, oh, you could bring
aye.
Celtic and Rangers.
like
down.
Celtic and Rangers were outspending mid-table Premier League teams,
Yeah.
and you know
Mhm.
that doesn't happen
No, it doesn't
anymore.
happen anymore. The Premier League's got a dickload of money.
Yeah.
Henrik was renowned for most of his time at Celtic, but we'll get into a wee bit of his early career here. Began his career in '88 with in the Swedish league with Hagasport BK. In a 4-year span from '88 to '92, he had 64 appearances, 23 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Then moved on to Hellingsborgs for one season, '92 to '93, 56 games, 50 goals.
The man was
That's a
fond of
football
goal.
manager return there.
Aye, the man was fond of a goal.
He ended up getting a move then to Feyenoord in '93, but in 4 years from then to '97, he had 101 games, 26 goals, so that was a bit of a wane then. He didn't really continue on that sort of, you know, bigger, better league, you know, maybe, you know, the Ajaxes, you know, and them in mid-90s were very good, and even
PSV would have
PSV.
been prominent as well. Yeah.
So he was in the Feyenoord team that maybe were a bit behind them, and maybe, you know, he was a wee bit behind, you know, some of the players in the starting team as well. So I think in round 97, for just over $500,000, he requested, I think that maybe that was a trigger in his clause or something, or he requested a move.
Mhm.
So Celtic came in, and for 600,000 or 700,000, he earned a move to Celtic. He moved to Celtic in '97, as I say, after winning the KNVB Cup back-to-back 94 and 95 in the Dutch League, so we had a couple of honours there. Moved to Celtic, and in his first season, 35 games, 16 league goals, so a fairly good return. Then things started to really tick up. Following year, 98 to 99, 35 games, 29 goals. So this is when things started to really work for him. Then things didn't go so well. That in 1999, he
This is
racked.
back when he was sporting the dreads, which was badass.
He had them cool ass dreads, and man was absolutely at it. Like 9 games,
The best
7.
Swedish footballer of all time.
Of course he's not the best Swedish footballer of all time. Don't even try and squeeze out of that. Henrik Larsson is a fantastic footballer, but he can't even shine Zlatan Ibrahimovic's boots. Like,
Oh, here we go.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic has scored 100 goals in a season in Scotland.
That's the
no
loudest-
bother at
I
all.
just had to slow it in there. I was waiting for the reaction.
That's the loudest Dev's been tonight. Like. He's got angry now.
Robbie Keane went to Scotland and buy hat-tricks every week. Zlatan Ibrahimovic should have ate the Scottish League for dinner.
You've woke the beast out, yeah.
I had to do it.
Carry on.
In 1990 to 2000, he only played 9 games, played
He's got a
7
Champions
goals.
League and Zlatan doesn't.
I was coming to that bit, aye.
Sorry, Dave.
Hey, Henrik's a fantastic footballer. Don't let me take any away from that.
He
But he's just not quite to that.
He was pacey back in his day too. Like he was lively.
He was. He entered the ACL in '99, so that, and they thought it was really bad, but he only played 9 games that season, and that sort of definitely. I think they thought it was going to be really bad, but he ended up coming out of it not so bad. So that was one good positive. Following year, he came back, 37 games, 35 goals. The next season, 33, 29 goals. 35 games the following year with 28 goals, and in his final year from 03 to 04, 37 games, 30 goals.
Monster like for Celtic.
Serious return. Like he's a 4-time league winner with Celtic, and also a few Scottish Cups as well. Runner up to the UEFA Cup as it was then in 2002-2003, 3-2 defeat to Porto. That was Jose Mourinho's Porto.
They knocked us out that year.
Celtic knocked out you guys, Stuttgart, Boavista, to name a few.
Yeah.
So
Boavista used to produce another team every now and then.
No.
But they were runners up to Porto that year. For his total Celtic appearances, he had 313 games with 242 goals.
That's a ridiculous return.
That's a return there.
He was lively too, by a very, very creative player,
Really?
and a really clinical finisher too, with a burst of pace as well. Like he could shift back when he was younger too. Like
he was electric. His league tally, the league games he played 221 games with 174 goals. So serious return. So at the end of that, then I think he made it clear that he was moving on from Celtic. He's also claimed that quitting Celtic was harder than actually retiring from football. You know, he was that attached to the club. Like,
I loved him. Like, they absolutely loved him.
And I think you'll even get a few Rangers fans that will probably admit that they actually probably loved to see him when the derby was on, like, because there was a lot of
Rangers Celtic back then was a good derby. Like, I mean, you know, it's been lopsided for quite some time now, but I mean, like back then, you know, Rangers had dominant periods. Celtic
coming back now too.
Like, Stevie's doing a decent job, but I mean, like, there was periods where, like, you know, Celtic were running leagues and there was Rangers were running leagues. It was back and forth, and it was a kicking match too.
It was to and fro. So he had a lot of suitors that was in for his name, and he was looking to go somewhere. I think where, maybe he could compete for something. You know, I think he had a long list of suitors, but suddenly all of a sudden Barca came in with interest, and he just snapped it up.
Yeah. As was his talent, like.
That first year now it wasn't the best for him. He had 12 league appearances with 3 goals. ACL came back on him again.
That's what kind of knocked him down a wee bit of a touch. That was that second ACL injury that slowed him right down. He lost what pace he had left, and you know stuff like that there. But
yeah, very much so. He was sort of in the early 30s probably at this stage, so probably using a few yards of pace, and an ACL that nicked up again was sort of impacting him. But he had 12 league appearances and 3 goals. Not 04 to 05 year. In 05, 06, he had 28 appearances for them, and he had 10 goals in the league. So, you know, he actually that's a very good return for a man that was rotating with the likes of Eto'o, you know, Lionel Messi, Ronaldinho. I was a year before. But still fairly good for a man that was sort of behind a very talented packing order. Then sort of the highlight, I guess, if you like, won the 2006 Champions League against Arsenal. He came off the bench to inspire the win against Barcelona, setting up both goals with 2 assists.
That's what he kind of became in the latter part of his career, like a sort of impact sub that you knew that could come on and create something for you, because his game completely changed at that point too. He became like...
Sure, I liked him at us. He was good at us. Fergie tried to keep him, and then I think he just didn't want to stay. Like after all, but Fergie tried to keep him. Like, he had a good spell for us. Like.
Set up 2 of the goals, completely changed the tempo and way of the game. I think Barcelona were very much under a lot of pressure from Arsenal. Arsenal were down to 10 men. I think Lehmann got sent off nearly on that game. So Campbell headed them home from a corner, I think it was, and they were 1-0 up, so they were holding out.
I think they were holding out early too, weren't they?
They were holding out, so it was a long game for them. But Henry said post-game that big names like Ronaldinho and Eto'o were not to be seen throughout the game because they were very quiet. And he says Larsson came on and completely dictated and changed the game. Which is a serious compliment for a man like. He wasn't
maybe just as talented as them boys at that part of his career, like, but he just it's that credit that you have to give to Cristiano too. Like, when Cristiano knew that the legs and the speed maybe was going from under him, he changed his game to be a central striker. Whereas Larsson didn't become that; he became like a creative 10 nearly, more than sort of like, you know, pacey wing striker,
more second striker, like.
Smarts about him, like, and I suppose he had a bit of that
game intelligence, like
European. Well, it's, I suppose, European experience as well to help him through it as well, which is useful. He was well liked at Barcelona with Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho was actually called him his idol. He says he loved seeing Larsson. Like, he absolutely loved him. He said he's seen him at like the '94 World Cup. He says he loved that was even before he went to Celtic. He says that just loved the way he played the game, and really exciting to watch. And he was almost sort of starstruck when he came around Barcelona, and he was sort of well liked. He had a good sort of way about him, that sort of thing. So we had 2 years at Barcelona. Ended up winning 2 La Ligas, Supercopa, and then obviously the Champions League. So I think the thing I like most about this is that you'll probably get some people who'll say, "Oh, sure, he was a big fish in a small pond." He's at Celtic, he had quality, but it was easy for him to stand out because he's probably the best player in the league at the time. But I do understand the way that he has came from. He's probably went to Barcelona at the end of his career, where he's just maybe not as fast as he was, or he'd lost a wee bit.
Injuries,
but the fact that the man went to a league like the La Liga, played for Barcelona, and came up trumps in the final, used that and very much helped sway the victory in their favour. But I think it's a nice thing for him, because you'll get a lot of people out there says he couldn't do it in another league. Well, fair enough.
No, of course he could have.
He's
stuck him in his prime, slap banging any of the top leagues around Europe, he'd have been banging them in.
Absolutely.
So it was nice for him to have that. At the end of this 2-year stint, he moved back to Helsingborgs, and this was from 2006-2009 until he retired, I believe. But a year after, which was 2007, in January, he made a loan move to United.
He did, boy.
And throughout that, it was only 3 months though. It was from January to March 2007.
I think we had injury problems, and Fergie was just like, right, we need someone to plug this gap until the boys are back.
Somebody that's definitely can, stick to the level.
13 total appearances with 3 goals in all competitions. Alex Ferguson wanted Larsson to stay longer, but Larsson had promised to his family or something that he would only go for
a few months
to help out. And I think he actually scored.
But Fergie, I think, even said he was great around the dressing room, and he was great to have him training, and he just had that real good winning mentality, that professionalism and all. Fergie really wanted to keep him.
I think he scored against Aston Villa in the league, and that would have been against Martin O'Neill's Aston Villa. So against
did he not help you to win a league or something? Did he not score a critical goal or something? Why is that in my head?
I'm not sure, lad. I
think he bagged one in a big game or something down the stretch or something like that there that year. I don't know why I've got that in my head, but I think I remember him coming on and bagging a goal that was critical as far as the title race coming in.
No, he could have done very much so. Although I do believe one of his goals was against Villa. But yeah, you could have been right. There could have been a goal there where he scored against, which was vital for the league win. Just on that, he had 7 Premier League appearances. United won the league that year. However, he was deemed 3 appearances short of the requirement to be deemed a league medal.
Never even got a medal. That's taken.
Although apparently they swung it in his favour, where they actually credit him as having a Premier League. He is a Premier League winner, but he's actually said himself he never actually received a medal, but on his honours he has. He's officially listed as a winner with United, which is good. Very much. I think after this, he ended up finishing in 2009, and a couple of times since this, he's played a few one-off games with some clubs, whether he's had to come and help them out or something, or he's done a couple of one-off games. He's been in the managerial career as well. It's not been so great for him. He's had a few stints with Helsingborgs and a few other teams, but fans have turned against him, I think, as well, at some point as well.
He had a club coming through. His son was coming through.
Jordan Larsson.
He was like a wonder kid in FIFA about 3 or 4 years ago.
Apparently they named him after MJ.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool,
But yeah, I mean, just on his whole career here, just to round it off, his club career total for all teams, 769 appearances with 434 goals.
That's a lot of goals, Festy.
That is a lot of goals, Davey. That is a lot of goals. I would like to see
banging them in the Swedish league, the Dutch league, Spanish league, Premier League, Scottish league.
He's just proved that he sort of can do it anywhere he can go. Obviously, prime of his career was Celtic, no doubt about it. But even the other side of that, there was that talented player was always there.
Unbelievable.
It wasn't just one off in Scotland. He also had a 13-year, I believe, 13 years international career, 106 appearances with 37 goals, which is also a reasonable return. He is the all-time UEFA Cup / Europa League goal scorer with 40 goals.
He's not Sweden's all-time top goal scorer.
5-time Scottish Golden Boot winner as well. Just to at this time in Scotland, as I mentioned earlier, the amount of goals he scored each year was crazy. So 5 out of his 7 years, he was the top goal scorer.
Oh, aye.
Some of his other credentials as well. He's Swedish Footballer of the Year for 4 times. European Golden Boot winner as well.
Yeah.
Team of the tournament in UEFA 2004. Also won the goal of the tournament for Europe 2004.
Baller, like.
And yeah, he's class. Like he's he's so good. I loved him whenever there was like rumours of him coming to United, and I remember him coming to United. And
I mind him playing for us too. And just bit excited.
He's a dangerous man to have on the bench, like.
Oh,
he was really talented. Still, he completely changed his game. Was way slower. He didn't have the pace or not anymore. But he was so switched on, like. And
plus, people are too addicted to like. They think that real life's like a game of FIFA or Football Manager where you hit 30 and all of a sudden you decline. That's not.
No.
We could Zlatan at 35 and he scored 25 goals. You know what I mean? Players. Ryan Giggs was still brilliant at 40. You know.
It all depends. Like.
That's how you.
Henrik Larsson was still a great player in his mid-30s when we got him.
It's like the Ronaldo thing. Like he's changed his game and now he's like a central striker, and that's what he does now. And the man was a flying dribbling winger at a stage in his career, and then he was like an inside forward type, and now he's just a central striker because he doesn't maybe have the legs to get up and down as much as he used to. It's that ability to adapt that'll keep your career going.
It's how you adapt. It's even like supposedly players like Gerrard as well. Gerrard was very box to box in his early days. Like he had the legs for it then in the later years. Obviously
dropped as a holding mid.
You have to drop. Like you have to adapt. You can't.
That was the same as Scholes. Scholes started off as a number 10 and then ended up playing as a ball playing midfielder. Like
very much so.
Just right in front of the back four.
But I had to go for Larsson, boys. I was watching something there the other night. I think something on Sky Sports, like maybe an old firm game, and Larsson pinned in my head. Electric, like as you said, like so fast. A lot of that thing too back in the day was like Celtic style, maybe at times where they were playing 2 men at the top. You had John Hartson or Chris Sutton.
Baller.
John Hartson, Chris Sutton would knock the ball
the
along.
Big little connection.
Sutton would head it down. Larsson would leach out of nowhere, latch on it, and dribble around, and he would dink. I remember it was against Rangers. Sutton heads it down. Larsson dinks in the eye. Unreal.
And it's
very gifted footballer. Like.
Outstanding.
It's also just before we go off on it. It was a thing of beauty also that him and Anslad played together for the Swedish team.
Aye, that was good, boys. We'll definitely get back to this at some stage again. It's definitely one that I wouldn't mind going back to. I thoroughly enjoy researching them and talking about these old players. And
definitely in the next few weeks or maybe a month or two we'll bait another one out because it is enjoyable. Like
I enjoy talking about old footballers and the sort of careers that they had. This is definitely one of my favourite ones to research.
You're definitely going to go Jordan Arisa sometime, aren't you?
I'm going to go, what's his brother's name? Born Arisa? Is that it? He went to Fulham for his
he did?
No, you were talking, who was it there you were talking about, Vesty, and it gave me who was it thinking of there, and I can't even remember.
Who you wanted to do?
You were talking about a team there, and it just popped into my head, and I was like, yeah, that's the next one I'm doing. Christ, who was it?
Was it AC? Italian league?
I think it was.
Lazio? Roma?
My head's
Toddy?
Toddy's not underrated. Toddy's not underrated. It's that was a good one, fellas. I suppose the way we can round this out is that Pippo Inzaghi has more career accomplishments than them two absolutely phenomenal footballers. Pippo Inzaghi is going to be the worst footballer that we do in this series, I think.
Matt Le Tissier hasn't won a medal.
He hasn't won a medal. But that was definitely good, fellas. To anybody that's listening, we'll definitely get back to doing this one again. As you know, probably by this stage when this one comes out, we're up on Spotify. So
definitely give us a like, share, subscribe, show us some love.
Download the podcast.
We're now on Spotify.
Yeah, that's good news. Dev has to get on the ball with Apple at some point.
Haven't looked near it.
No, but no, it's good. Folks, we're definitely getting back to where we're at pre-lockdown. But that was a good one, lads. We'll definitely get around to doing that one again at some stage because I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
It was good. It was good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Cheers.